Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with my co-host, Jonathan. How's it going today, Jonathan?
Very good. How are you?
Pretty good. Going to New York on Tuesday, which is fun with JoJo. And so, it's kind of exciting that, at one point it was so far away, and now it's so
Around
close,
the corner. Yeah.
round the corner.
Very
So,
nice.
kind of getting excited about that.
Great. I've never been, which is like crazy to
Blasphemy.
say. Yeah,
I've never been
absolutely.
as an adult, to be honest, even though
Mhm.
I have cousins there. I know a lot of people that live there. It's obviously a big acting mecca. So, it's somewhere I should have been. But I think that I never went because I'm kind of that person that will just stay somewhere and not come back. And so I think I just didn't want to just go move to New York because that's what happened to me in Montreal. I used to go and visit Montreal all the time, and I just never came back for 8 years. So it's kind of my vibes.
Yeah. But now you're like, okay, it's time.
Well,
It's
I'm
time to
going
visit.
because Rob as a podcast is having a live know-it-all. So we're going to be watching next week's episode of Survivor together, have a little bit of a chat after with other patrons. And then Bryce and Wendell are having little parties. So there's a party on Tuesday and a party on Wednesday. So who knows if there's going to be other Survivor people there as well, but it should be a good time.
Okay. New York.
Yes. New York. And we have Jess in the house. I think it says Jess, does it? Yes. Hi, Jess. How are you? All right. This episode. What do you think about this episode overall, Jonathan?
I mean, predictable, but entertaining because I think whenever who doesn't want to see business be in charge, although I don't think any great kind of decisions or surprises were made or anything like that. It was just entertaining to watch for me. So liked it. There was a lot happening, but super predictable, including with the veto and everything else. It was very obvious.
So, what did you think about that? What Josh did in the triple eviction? How did you experience that whole sequence of events?
Um, yeah, I don't. I know what he was doing, but at the same time, it's he has to realize that I don't know what the reality is, because is the reality that he is really close to Kevin as well, but he has to know that Kevin and Helena are working together. So I would have absolutely split that up, even at the risk of, you know, upsetting someone that I'm potentially close with, because I wouldn't have put Betty at risk. Because here's the thing, who doesn't want to go to the end with Betty? I would be like, you're coming with me at the end, so I'm not putting you at risk at all, because then that puts my win at risk,
Hmm.
unless it's you have to go so I stay. Unless we're at that point, I'm absolutely keeping you safe, wouldn't risk you at all. And I think if you put someone on and then of course Betty wins HOH, so it's he's put in a bad situation. And I think, I'm sure you'll bring it up, but I think he did a really piss poor job of that initial conversation with Betty in the HOH room. Did not go well. I didn't think he got across any kind of convincing points, didn't lay out his game, nothing. So I thought that was a very unsuccessful conversation that he had. And I don't think Josh is playing very well.
Yeah, I think we gave Josh a lot of credit for being so quiet in the beginning of the season. I used to be like, "Oh, I love Josh. Oh my god, he's doing so well. He's amazing." And I think it's just because I think he's very attractive. He's tall. He's quite nice, but he's not really gaming as much as I was giving him credit for. And I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. I think the triple eviction was terrible for him. And, I get it. He's working with Helena and Kevin. They have their Crash Test Dummy Alliance. I get that he was scared that maybe they would go home because Betty is really good friends with Summer. And so maybe she wouldn't want to do that and vote out Summer. Who knows? But he should have put up Helena. I was like, it's going to be Helena or Summer. But when it was the renom time, Helena needed to go up, break that streak. Are you really going to let somebody go to the
Yeah.
end, even if it's with you, and have a streak that they were never put up on the block,
Yeah.
even as a
You're,
renom, and
you're
and
giving them
almost
that
every
story.
week? Say it
Yeah.
again. Yeah,
Like you're
exactly.
giving them that story, and like I often think about that in games. It's like, what's someone's story, and how do I chop that up into pieces? And and the other thing too is like he knew he was going to make Summer so livid and upset, and you're going to tick off like the one person who probably is going to still hold it against you right to the end. I mean, I feel like a lot of other people are like could just kind of let go of it and appreciate the game. Like if you got Kevin out, Kevin would be like, you know what, I understand the game, right? And I think Helena would as well. Summer is probably Summer and Betty, and you ticked off the two people that were, probably going to hold on to it longer than most. So I didn't understand it fully.
It was a very poor decision, and obviously the remnants of that trickled on to this episode. So we know that Betty has won the head of household, and now Josh doesn't take this as an opportunity to go and make nice with his best friend in the house. Like, I don't know if they said this in the episode or not, but he wanted to give Betty space, and he wasn't going to go and bombard her right away. He was just going to take it on the chin that she was going to most likely nominate him and then talk about it. I was like, why would you allow yourself to be put up on the block when you could potentially prevent that from happening by what you say to your best friend? I guess she's going to be pissed, but she's also still cares about you and is wanting to not want to put you up. She does not want to have to put you up. So go give her reasons why you shouldn't put her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
And if you need, space could be like an hour, doesn't need to be until after noms or anything like that. But also, you need to keep playing the game the whole time, and you have to be very aware of the other players. And Betty is emotional, and she will want you absolutely to explain. And if you sat there and were completely honest and put it all out there, and like honestly, I would be fully kind of probably blowing up Kevin and Helena's game and just telling her everything, being like, we
Yes,
have
being
we
like,
had this
we
threesome.
started Crash Test
Yeah.
Dummies. We've been working together. Blah 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 blah. Like, I have a final two with Kevin. It just is like, this is what happened. I'm sorry that our friendship got into the way of this. We didn't really have any game talks, so like I just was thinking about keeping my alliance together, and I'm so sorry that I messed up in the moment because everything was moving so fast. I knew that you were staying. I knew that you were going to be kept. I just didn't fully think it through, and I'm sorry. And just say that, like, in telling her everything, I think would have absolved him at least from like why he did it.
Yeah.
Instead of like her wondering like if he was just expendable, she was
Well,
expendable to him.
and she even said, like, it's, she's like, I understand we never said officially that we're, working to each other with each other to the point where we take each other to the end or whatever. She said that in this episode, and it's like, yeah, so if you just explained it all, then, I think somewhere she would understand, and then you could make decisions from there. You could explain it all and then say, like, look, but I now realize that those two, I'm the third on that one. And I should have just turned to you and should have turned my back on them. So I understand what you want to do, but I'm ready to move away from those two or whatever he wants to do. Like, what are we going to do? And if you want to work with me, this is what we're going to do. And so he needs to risk his game a little bit there to get her back so that he can control this week with her. And he didn't do any of that.
None of it. But Helena, who I think has been playing decently well, but sometimes a little bit of her rat kind of floater vibes like kind of annoyed me for some of this season. But I thought it was really smart of her to go right up to Betty and tell Betty all about JC Lynn and her secret power of veto. They didn't fully disclose what they said about it, but they basically said that the reason why Helena didn't use her power of veto was because that the real plan was that they wanted either Moose or Josh out of the game. And so if they had used the power of veto on somebody, then Josh was going to go up, and that Marty was never ever going to be the option. And so that they're protecting Josh. And so this is what the full story of what Helena was pitching to Betty. And then also, I didn't see this part, but adding in that, well, JC Lynn wanted to keep Summer. And like that's a half truth because she just assumed that Summer was a person that they were going to keep. And she already had promised Summer that she was going to keep her. And if Helena had been on the block, she would have kept Summer. And so it was kind of circumstantial. But
And
Helena used that.
she did tell Betty that, so that's like in the back of Betty's mind too. She's like, "Oh, I already promised that I would, but let me speak to Kevin and Helena." I remember that as part of the previous episode. But yeah, it's very. I mean, Helena's good with speaking to people, minus the whole JC
Confrontations.
Lynn thing. Yeah, that happened. I was like, not the best. But yeah, and it made me like dislike Helena a little. I'm also a JC Lynn fan and rooting for JC Lynn, but I think she's playing a pretty decent game along with Kevin. I think they're slipping a little bit because they need to, like Kevin specifically, because he needs to like get it together and apparently can't win anything. But yeah, there's some interesting conversations that happened at the beginning of this episode that really can, completely define not just this week, but just the remainder of the game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that close.
Well, Josh does have a conversation with Betty finally. About why, like, understanding why she's gonna put him up, but he does apologize. But like you've already said, like, why isn't he fixing it? Like, I don't think it's that hard to get Betty back on your side. And I felt that he just like really didn't put in the work that he needed to just mend this relationship. I think it would have been such an easy thing to do because she just wants more than anything to not be in a fight with you or be mad at you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to be putting you up. And he's like, okay. What?
Yeah, I don't get Josh sometimes. Like, even with Kevin offering him a cookie and he's like, yeah, a cookie would be good. I'm like, is that his humor? Like, is he joking or is he actually serious? Or like, where, like, I don't know how to read. Josh is hard to read for me. And I think I'm good at reading people, but from what I see, I'm just like, I don't know what you're thinking. And because you're not really making moves and doing consistent things, I don't really know what's kind of going on. It's not like your actions allow me to see kind of what your intentions are.
I think he's a Scorpio moon. Hold on. Let's see. Let me double check this.
Very
Josh
confusing.
is Virgo sun, Scorpio moon. So Scorpio moons are mysterious. And so they're emotionally like about things that are hidden, things that are behind the scenes kind of, but very emotional, and it can be vindictive, is kind of a trait of a Scorpio. But yeah, Scorpio moon though, that's like the underworld, that's like other people's money, that's like those are the things that drive them. Transformation, ruled by Pluto. And so that's how his emotions are driven. And so maybe that's why he's coming across as mysterious, is that's how he's emotionally presents himself.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. And even Betty calls Josh out. It's like, and first off, you took too long to come and talk to me. Absolutely. Like, if okay, imagine I did that to you in a game. I would never. But imagine I did that to you in a game and I didn't immediately pull you over and smooth things over. I know that you'd still be pissed,
Yeah,
but
you have
like
to
I'd pull
immediately.
you right away and I would probably like not leave you alone until I felt that like I fixed it. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like over the top about it, like really make you annoyed. So eventually you just have to laugh it out because like you're like, okay, fine. I forgive you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. So I was really, like I said, really surprised at how he was acting. I was just like,
Don't give her some
I want to give her
space.
space. I'm like,
No
no,
space.
Betty's not a space person. Betty's
No.
someone you need to talk through everything with and like reassure. It's not a space situation. I'm like,
It's a smother.
yes.
Such a smother situation. So we do see Betty confronting JC Lynn, and you didn't see this full conversation, but in the beginning of it, they're having this conversation. JC Lynn's like, I'm being fully transparent with you. I really I want to work with you. I think we should work together, blah blah blah. Like just telling her all the right stuff. But she never included the secret veto part. And Betty obviously has this information. It's kind of like was teeing it up to her, being like, is there anything else that like I need to know?
This
And
is
JC
why,
Lynn's what? Go
like,
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. This is why, and I say it all the time. You do not tell anybody in the game when you have won something unless you use it at the end, especially if you're not using it, unless it's to save yourself or you use it at the end as a winning point of reference, because it always gets out. It always gets out, and often, way more times than not, is used against you. Drives me crazy.
So Jess is agreeing with me here. So Jess says they didn't show the fact that Betty asked like 3 times before she admitted it. Oh, JC Lynn. So how that actually happened, I believe, Jess, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is that obviously they used it to their advantage. So Gino and JC Lynn used it when Marty was head of household to be like, if we were going to be trying to backdoor you, JC Lynn had the secret veto, like she would have used it if that was what we were planning on doing. And so then Marty used that with Helena when Helena was like, no, you got to use them. They were coming for you. And he's like, well, JC Lynn had the secret veto and she didn't use it on me. And so now Helena has that information that she shares with Kevin. And so now they concocted the story. It's like, okay, well, now that we know that she didn't use the secret veto, let's use that information to our favor. And then that's what they presented to Betty. And so the fact that she didn't admit to it right away is just, if you're trying to be like, I'm being transparent, you actually have to be transparent, right? At this stage, when it's like against going up and going home.
Even
like,
if it's not relevant, you would have to be like, if you told one person and it was just Gino and you're like, oh, I assume he's not telling anybody, even if that was the case, which
you'd
it
have to
wasn't,
just be like, I
you'd
have to
just be like,
trust you
oh,
with
by
this.
the way, I also, even if it had nothing to do with it, even if it was at the beginning of this game, because you do not know what they know. You don't know what you don't know. And in this situation, what you don't know is that she found out. So
she found out. JC Lynn didn't lie about it, but it looked like she was lying about it because, like, oh, I mean, I'm just caught off guard because, like, I didn't know that
and she
anybody
was
knew
like,
about that.
it was the up into the lie, well, sorry, I was cut off guard, so I didn't have this pre-planned and the garbage that I was going to tell you and feed you. And I like JC Lynn, but I was like, JC Lynn, first of all, we'll get to the veto, which I was very upset about because, I mean, this is your life on the line. And some of these people were moving like, they were like, they just put on a fresh coat of nail polish or something. Like, it was just like, they didn't want ooh, ooh, ooh. And I'm like, Helena was moving through that veto. And that's, you need to, I would have lopped off my head, running into something if my life was on the line. It would have been like a
I would
race
like
blindfold.
have to see you with your life on the line, blindfolded, doing this veto competition because you'd be so fast.
Full speed. And it and I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there, but it was just like, how do you have a whole season and you're so close to the end and these people aren't doing everything that is within their power? Like, these are big mistakes, at the end here. So I was disappointed.
So we get our nomination ceremony. No surprise, Josh and JC Lynn are up on the block. And I thought this was also not the response that I wanted to see from Josh in his diary room, being like, oh, I'm so happy for Betty. Like, she's just doing something for her game. Like, I'm really proud of her. And I'm like, you're proud of the fact that your closest ally for reals may send you home? Like, that's just, it's terrible. It's terrible. He should have blamed everything on Kevin and Helena, or just Kevin, or whatever. Just being like, they promised, I don't know, they conned me into doing it or something. Like, they made me feel guilty, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They should have just blamed everything on them and get her mad at them.
Exactly. I know.
Exactly. So we see JC Lynn's she was right on the money, I found, because in her confessional she's like, what is Betty doing? She's so, and everybody here is so annoying, and it is annoying for JC Lynn because logically JC Lynn shouldn't be really on the block. They really should be breaking up Kevin and Helena. Like, really.
But
letting it duo.
Super emotional. And so,
Petty Betty doesn't necessarily win games.
No.
So,
yeah.
Like, that's why Summer, another person that claims to be super petty, ain't going to win because petty is not necessarily the winning move.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you need to speak to those people and you're like, look, I know you're an emotional person. let's talk straight up
Actually,
game
probably don't say that though.
because I
No
want
emotional
to.
person ever wants to hear that they're emotional.
It's a, well, I mean,
I
you could say that to some people if they are, and I think Betty's very open to that. Like, you could say something like nicer, but you can say you can play emotionally or allude to it or whatever, and then just say that
play
like,
with your heart. Yeah.
let's just sure, let's just think this through right now. Like, let's how do you get to the end? What are your paths to the end? And lay it all out, I mean, and maybe this was, and I just didn't see it, but you really need to like have those conversations that are very logical for such an emotional player and hope that they can put that aside and make the right decision for them because they are so close to the end. So, I mean, but I wasn't surprised with anything that happened.
So Kevin is really pumping up Betty's tires, saying like you're doing such a good job, you're playing such a good game, and I'm just like Kevin's good. Like he's always saying the right thing. Betty says this later on the episode, right thing at the right time, talking about something, planting little seeds here, leaving to go do something. Like he's really good. I mean, he doesn't really have that much competition going up against him other than the fact that he's terrible at competitions,
Mhm.
but like other than that, like he's still playing very well, and it is impressive that he says everything in such a convincing way that you're like, yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. Thank you for complimenting me here and make me feel good about myself. We see Kevin talking to Helena, and this is also him, I think, at his best, where he's talking about the ghosts and how he thinks the ghosts are going to have a Wikipedia page, and like they're going to update the page because it's going to say that their alliance is going to be the winner and the runner up. And I think I would like to see that. I think I would at this point. I also like JC Lynn as well. I know that you are a JC Lynn fan, obviously.
Mhm.
What I definitely love, and I talked about this on Monday with Sarah, is that I didn't really have high hopes for the 2 air signs and the 1 fire sign. And because everybody else was earth and water, mostly Virgos, as we talked about. And so the fact that they made it to the final 5, I think is so impressive because they really didn't have like people that they got along with very well on their side. So I think that's also really impressive.
Oh yeah, they were able to, turn people against each other and take them out like that, which is, I mean, what you need to do. So, um, yeah, I'm rooting for JC Lynn, obviously, but I mean, I'm very happy with how Kevin's played. But now, because I'm always like more of the underdog person, and I, now that Kevin and Helena for me are like, oh, they're gonna be like 1 and 2. I'm just like, okay, I can hope that
Jason messes
JC
it
Lynn
up.
can like, yeah, can like get in there and ruin it for them a little bit. So that's
I,
what
I
I'm
mean,
hoping.
I agree. I agree with that. I'm pretty fine with anybody winning right now. Maybe not Josh because like his move this week was too bad,
Same.
and he didn't do a good job with staying off the block when his best friend wins head of household. Like no mistake is too big. Like you could have fixed that, and the fact that he didn't even put any work in to try and fix that, I can't allow him to win now. Like I
Yeah.
just like I don't want that. He doesn't
Yeah.
deserve that. So I thought it was really sweet though when Betty was like, I'm tired of like I'm fighting with my best friend. So she goes down and she's like, would you like to go join me for a cup of coffee? And he's just like, yeah. And I was like, it just felt like he was out of the doghouse and he was so excited that like she was like wanting to hang out and be nice to him. And so they go and they chat, and I got a little teary eyed when they're talking about like she wants him to be beside her at the wedding and all that stuff, and that they're best friends, blah 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 blah, and they hug. And so I thought it was a sweet moment. How did you feel?
It's funny because I look at it, I'm like, you've just met these people. But at the same time, I went away to university, I lived on campus, and it is shocking how close you get to people that you see day in, day out, and they are like closer than your family after
Absolutely.
2 weeks. You are like bonded by, blood and
Trauma.
spirit by by then. It's shocking. Like and I never realized it until I went to 20 years ago. But when I went to university, but it's yeah, those bonds happen really quick when you're spending all day long with these people. So I get it now. I definitely do. But it is a little shocking to see, people kind of grow that close when I'm like, 3 months ago you didn't know this person existed. So yeah, I just I like that moment, but at the same time, because of who I want, like I want Josh to go home this week, so I'm like, oh, don't I want kind of Betty to be against him a little bit to support that.
Totally agree with you. Totally on that exact same page. So, wait, what am I writing? The crash test stuff. She's probably the favorite going in. Who? Betty thinks he's all. Anyways, I'm not sure what I wrote there, but Betty's now. She had a light bulb moment, and she feels like Kevin. Oh my God, Kevin is the person. And a couple weeks ago, I was comparing Kevin to kind of. You must have seen Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, kind of like Kaiser Sose, like nobody knows who he was, and just like, oh, this little guy. And then at the end, like, everybody's realizing who, or well, the audience, anyways, is realizing who Kaiser Sose actually was. And that's kind of how I feel about Kevin a little bit. Is that like nobody's seeing the game that he's playing, and then Betty's now realizing, like, it's Kevin. Like, and Kevin's the one that's always in my ear. Kevin's the one that like always knows what's going on. Kevin, like, I think it's great. But it might be a little bit too late, Betty, for you to realize that you should have put up Kevin on the block.
Yeah, because I mean, right, exactly. Because the veto is going to play out, and here's the thing: everyone's playing, and you have two very capable people: Josh, who's come in second a million times, JC Lynn, who's won veto. You have two very capable people, potentially can take themselves off the block, so it gives you that option of doing whatever you want. But and you probably don't want to piss anyone off. So I get why she put Josh and JC Lynn up, because like, even if you were like, maybe I will go after Helena or something,
Put up Helena, break her streak. Just be like, I can't have the
it's
streak.
like then I understand her being like kind of risk adverse and just not wanting to, rock any
Final
boats.
five. She's not able to vote
Oh,
next or to
I,
play
I
next week.
yeah, I would absolutely, because but I'm like, there's a chance that she genuinely thought she would have that option, because one of them are very likely to win. But of course, like, she won HOH, which was very unexpected. Helena won this, and I wouldn't, never a missed opportunity, right? Like, you have to take every opportunity that you're given. So I wouldn't have done that either. I would have absolutely put them up.
Yeah, that's what Kevin and Helena up, especially since if it wasn't for Kevin and Helena, she would not have been on the block from Josh. Like, it's been like, I have to split you two up because you two are keeping my closeness with Josh, like getting in the way of that closeness.
Yeah.
I would
Oh,
100% be like, sorry.
absolutely. And
Like,
what, they voted to keep you there? Who cares? So did JC Lynn, and you know what I mean? So it's like, it's at that point, yeah, you need to do that. And the fact that she didn't, well, I mean, that was her one opportunity to get some points in if she makes the end to potentially win the game. So I do think that, unfortunately, this has now lost her the ability to win.
yeah, probably.
If she had one, I would say that this is, that kind of put the nail in the coffin for me.
Kinda. So it was what I was reading that I didn't remember was so the crash test dummies. So Helena, Kevin, and Josh were all talking about how JC Lynn is favored to win. The fact that she's in clutch situations, she's able to take herself off the block, and so it's basically the three of them against JC Lynn. The only problem would be is if JC Lynn wins this veto. So we do see Betty talking to Josh and telling Josh that Kevin said that he was ready to cut him. And I mean, this is good, kind of, Betty, but not when Josh is on the block. This isn't information that you tell Josh when he's on the block. Or if you do, Josh, you need to go and mend that relationship, because, like, if he's ready to cut you, that means that he might want to do it now. Like, so the
Yeah.
fact that he, like, and from what I've seen so far, he's not had any sort of conversations to re-solidify anything with Kevin, because he's so mad. He's so mad. He can't believe that he's doing this. And so again, he's not fixing these problems. He's avoiding them. And I definitely feel it's going to cost Josh his game.
I mean, people are getting way too up in their feelings, and they need to just like focus on what are you there for? What are you're there to win. So stop being, just furious with people over silly things when that's not going to. I just don't understand how people can't just like, just
Okay, I'll deal with that later. Like, just shelf it and like come in
yeah,
with
or
like
take
game.
5-10 minutes or whatever, be pissed off in a room by yourself, and then be like, game face on. This JC Lynn did it the other week where she was like,
Mhm.
more of that, like more of that, so
So he wants to cuss him out, but he decides not to. And I'm just like, don't go and cuss him out, but go and talk to him and make sure, like, the more you make someone promise that they're keeping you, the less likely they're going to cut you. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes it harder for them to break the word. If you haven't talked to them and made them feel guilty about the fact that, like, they're going to cut you, like, it's just harder. It's easier if you don't if you're avoiding them. It's like,
oh
oh,
yeah.
you're avoiding them, and okay, great. Okay, I'll get
People
rid
have
of
said
you.
a lot of times, like, "Oh, well, they haven't even spoken to me, so see you later. I'll vote you out." You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Not promising anything,
Exactly.
re-promising anything, re-solidifying anything, like nada. So, but Josh feels played by Kevin. It's like, well, if you feel played by Kevin, go and fix your relationship. So frustrating. So we do have this the POV. It's an Expedia POV where they first go into the Expedia room. They see little clips of dream vacations that each of the final five would like to have. They're obviously not necessarily their dream vacations, but they each had a very different ones. What did you think of this competition on a whole?
Yeah, we're back to it feeling like a game show. So I was like, okay, this is good. I liked it felt like multi-level of elements. Like there was the memory aspect of it, even though I mean, you just had to know the gist of it. You didn't really have to know any details. Mixed in with being blinded, which is always fun and exciting for the viewers. And then like a little not really challenging puzzle, but a little something with the whole like finding the pieces and whatnot. The one problem I had with it is that okay, so they will adjust widths of things for like when they're holding on to that for people's heights and whatnot. But you have someone like Josh who looks like he's like 6'20", and then you have like JC Lynn who like
It's like
looks like she's like
5'5",
yeah, like you know what
5'6".
I mean. And yes, you could see the edge, but it's like that is so much easier to see that puzzle piece on the top. And Helena also missed it, and she's taller, but it doesn't matter. It puts someone like JC Lynn at such a disadvantage. I don't think they should ever have hidden it somewhere like there, maybe under the sand or something. Whatever. More
Something
difficult.
that
Sure.
everybody at their same eye level will have the same advantage.
Yeah, or if CSI has taught me most people don't look up. But if you want to have something high that they have to all reach, something that they could all see from any height, you know what I mean? Not like, oh, I'm taller, so I actually notice this way more than others. I really didn't like that. That bothered me a lot, actually.
Because
More
she was doing
so,
a really good job. I thought that she was pretty methodical. I couldn't tell what her time was, but like it just seemed like she was going. She like put her pieces up, and it just seemed like she was doing well. And then we saw like how the timer, the clock starts
yeah.
running when she's like, "Where's this last puzzle piece? I can't find this puzzle piece. Where's this puzzle piece?" And like obviously, I knew the outcome. So as a viewer, you were annoyed by this. Did you think that she
Super
still
annoying.
had a chance of winning?
No, and I don't think she would have won. But I do think, like, because even at the beginning, she was like going backwards and just like very dainty with like walking. I'm like, run, run until you injure your liver. Like, run, like, just like run it into something. You know what I mean? Like, run. Like, unless they meta evac you out of the Big Brother house, like, do what you need to do. Trip, fall, smack your head into something. Like, this is your life in the game. I never understand that with these people. I don't. I would decapitate myself before
I knew
you
you
would.
would.
Yeah,
I'm
you know I
laughing because
would.
I know how fast you would be
Absolutely.
going.
And so I would just feel the floor. I'm like grass, sand, snow. Like,
Like
you know
they're
what I mean?
not
Like,
gonna do anything that's gonna really hurt you. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there's not gonna be things not like Survivor, how they run you in blindfolded into
yeah,
like poles. Like this is like you have very distinct areas that you need to go in. Like
yeah.
and
And
you don't even
if
really
you
need
want
to
to
go
protect
in.
your head, just like Helena was doing, like a lot of this, and just but the moving a tiny bit and thinking, I'm like, what are you doing? So I don't think she would have won. I just don't think it was fair to begin with. And she was at a disadvantage, is what I'm saying. So, yes, did I want her to win? I don't. Do I think she deserved to win based off her performance? No, I think Helena was.
She would have been second though, I think, if
Yeah,
she
maybe
I mean her what was her time? So everybody
24. I
yeah,
think.
she was 24 minutes. Josh was 16 minutes. Actually, I don't know if she spent 14 minutes looking for the last puzzle piece. But maybe I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed if I spent 15 minutes looking for a damn piece that wasn't at eye level.
Yeah, or you
I'd be so I
literally
mean,
you're the shortest person there. You're at a disadvantage. Is what it comes down to. So regardless of like, I personally I don't think she would have won. Like maybe she might have beaten Josh time. Even if she wouldn't, it doesn't matter to me. It's the fact that it's like in no way, shape, or form like is that anywhere close to being like fair at all. So just stand on your tippy toes. It's like you ever do that and you're like, oh, this is what it's like. It's like, you know what I mean? Like it's like a whole new world. So
a whole new world.
imagine imagine like that's just a couple inches. Like imagine, having like an 8, 9, 10 inch advantage
Okay. I'm like
over.
8, 9, 10 inches. Okay.
So
Talk
I was
about
like,
your home
sign me
life.
up, but no, it's like advantage on everyone else that it just wasn't well thought out, I thought. But anyway,
Do you
I
think it
really
could
like
be because they wanted Josh to have an advantage? You think that it might have been producer interference?
um I don't think it was, but it could have been. I mean, if someone's like it was, I wouldn't be surprised, but I just think it was an oversight, to be honest with you.
You shouldn't be
That's
oversighting though. Like you have 3 months to execute
hire
these
me.
games,
I'd be,
right?
I'd hire me and I would go through every single detail of all that stuff. And I would,
100%.
yeah, yeah. And so,
100%.
and like when you're playing these out and when you're testing them, like, aren't you like, oh, by the way, I can't really see that. Someone who's 7'4" is going to see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know how that didn't come up. So,
Maybe everybody's tall on production and they
yeah.
just didn't even
So,
think about people being
um,
5 something, 5 foot
I
something.
I don't want to take it away from Helena because I thought she was moving, she was doing what she needed to do, and I even when she couldn't find the piece at first, I clearly she found it quickly
Quickly.
thereafter,
Yes.
and she was yeah. So I mean, well deserved. She deserved it, fair and square, as far as that's concerned, because she was moving unlike everybody else. And Betty, like, and that's what I was worried about with Betty with power. And people often do this when they win individual immunity on Survivor as well, is they rest and they're not playing the game anymore. And
She
Betty
hasn't
was
been playing the game all season, so
yeah,
she
but
doesn't even know
even
what playing
more
full health
so,
ball.
she's just like, I'll do this all for fun because I'm in power. And I'm like, Betty, play the game. Like
Win
you
that power,
yeah.
secure, like take off your boy
If
now that
you if you won the veto, if Betty won the veto, took off Josh,
Josh
put Kevin on, Kevin gets voted out, let's say, in a
split
in a
and she'd
tie or
break the
whatever.
tie.
Yeah. Betty, you might win the whole game if you make it to the
Absolutely.
end. Like
Absolutely.
win that veto, it changes everything. So I don't understand it. I mean,
Me either. And she did embarrassingly bad. Kevin also, I was like, Kevin, this wasn't a hard veto at all. Like, not hard. It
oh,
was quite easy.
you don't have to be athletic. You don't. It's just literally walking around. And Kevin was like drenched in sweat. We saw by the time he
Betty
was
was pretty sweaty too.
at the puzzle. Yeah, because they did it for 19 hours, but it was like an endurance challenge for them at the end. But they took so long.
Wait,
I
how
get
long
it.
did Kevin take? Okay, so Betty
30,
had 57 he fifth place was 47 minutes 48 minutes basically.
mhm,
Betty sorry, Kevin had
30 something.
33 minutes and
Yeah,
49 seconds.
yeah.
Then JC Lynn with 24 minutes, Josh with 16 minutes, and Helena with 10 minutes and 25 seconds. Like Helena, like I can't believe did it in a quarter of the amount of time as Betty. Like, that's
And
abysmal.
and for all the tall women out there, I will tell you, I know a few, and in my experience, they're often the ones that I know at least are like
Clumsy.
more clumsy. Yes, right? Like it's and so I was surprised. I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if Helena's gonna want to move that fast because she'll like run into things," and she was going for it. So I'm like, "You absolutely deserve that." So good job.
So she wins the veto, which is made Kevin really happy because he's like, I'm going to the final four as everybody's number one. I mean, he doesn't realize that he kind of might have fallen off that with Josh and even probably with Betty as well. But getting to the final four is a really good position because at final four, you really everybody can save themselves, even if you don't get the head of household. So final four is really important, and getting to the final three, like, yeah, yes. So I'd be pumped if I was Helena and Kevin, to knowing that I was going to be in the final four and getting to ultimately determine between Josh and JC Lynn who was going to be better for my game. That's
Yeah.
so great to have all that power.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So pumped. So we see Josh and Helena celebrating. I'm like, Josh, what are you celebrating? She's not using it on you. It's like, I know it's like for the crash test dummies, they just didn't want JC Lynn to win. But like,
Yeah, he has to
Josh,
be all in on that. Yeah.
you still should have won it. Like, do better, Josh. Do better, please. Especially if you have that height. Like, you didn't even have like that error that JC Lynn had that she couldn't see that piece. Like, what
Yeah.
took you so long?
He's the tallest there. Yeah, and he once again came in second. So story of his life this season.
Story of his life. Well, he's also thrown some of those second places to people. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I don't get his game style. Like I understand throwing things to not look like a threat, but when you start throwing things and your game suffers for it, like it doesn't. It's like what?
Yeah.
Like if you can win it, win it. He threw the one over to Helena her last veto, and that was the one where he should have not done that and and allowed Marty to go. It would have been better for everybody's game if Marty went earlier.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I get why we had high expectations for Josh because like it seemed like what kind of player he was going to be, et cetera, et cetera. But that was made up in all of our heads because it doesn't exist apparently. So
Boy. So Kevin joins Josh and Helena. They do a little crash test dummy hug, which, yes, he is playing the role, but like you should have just done better and won that one, Josh, because that would have been way better for your game position, way better. Well, like kind of like you said for Betty, like completely being like, hey, taking myself off the block. Kevin's going to go up and split that vote, make Betty take the blood there, whatever, for the most part, and get out Kevin. That would be on you as the major move. And you have Betty that's going to want to take you to the final two. You work
yeah,
something out with JC Lynn. Like, yeah, these people, they're in such good positions to win the game, and they just don't even do like the bare minimum.
yeah, they don't. I don't think they see it. A lot of them. Yeah.
So, Helena, please go to the diary room. And so she learns that there's a secret room. We also know about the secret room because JC Lynn found it and Kevin found it also with Marsha the Moose. And secret room number 11 has Kevin Martin giving her a 5-minute game strategy chat. So, what did you think about his advice? So, he basically said, gave her to focus on the jury, gave her 3 tips. So, stay calm, prepare. You have all the time in the world. There's not that many people in the house. So prepare and visualize your success. So what do you think about her advice and game chat?
Okay. So wasn't paying attention to that because I'm superficial. And there's two
You
things I
didn't
was
like his
noticing.
haircut. Okay.
No, I was like, I thought he looked better than normal, and I was like, oh, he looks even more fit. So good. And he didn't seem like he aged. A lot of the people that I've seen, from previous seasons, all seem a lot older. So I was like, okay. But the main thing is that, and this has nothing to do with the game or anything, but like, who wasn't thinking this? That dinky, can I say dinky? Dinky whiteboard with that green marker. I was just like, if you do not have the budget to match up with what the show, like, you know what I mean? Just at home, like, I'm going to put 3 words on this whiteboard. that I bought at Walmart. And I was just like, it looked so terrible. That was distracting me beyond what he was saying. I mean, I think what he was saying was just very kind of like the obvious, and it was just kind of like something to have in an episode. I don't think it's not like they went into detail. Like I was waiting for like, okay, I could put up, I wanted names is what I wanted. Like, but do I turn on? Because she did say like there's something I want to do and then there's something that I should do or
Head
something
heart,
like
yeah.
that. And I want, what is that? Like I wanted some names to be talked about, even if she didn't give us our full answers. Maybe he could be asking about some of it. I don't know. I just wanted some sort of more to what was there, and then that whiteboard just absolutely killed me. But yeah, I
Man,
was
poor
like,
poor whiteboard, Kevin Martin. You're coming for him.
"What didn't it
Production
distract
should have
you?"
sent them something though that's
Yeah,
like branded.
it was distracting. It was a little distracting because it was cheap.
It's a little cheap, but maybe they're trying to show like, ah, okay, I'm giving you this advice right now. It's not like
But
it's
then you
not
do
branded.
but then you do a whole segment of like he's teaching you on a chalkboard, you know what I mean? And like have like little like some art department and production could have went over and like drew like the Big Brother logo on a chalkboard, and he could be like, look, and then with a little pointer, you can do this, that, you know what I mean? Like make it shticky, make it like a thing, right? And it's Big Brother Canada, and it wasn't a thing. But I mean, like, just do you want me to write for you, Big Brother Canada? I happily do that as well. I will happily.
Yeah, I know you would. Hi, Jelly Donut. This was a very powerful. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I don't
We
know.
haven't seen it, of course.
How's my Queen Betty doing? She's still out of household, so she's doing decently well
Just
for
chilling,
herself.
just
But
chilling.
for her game, I don't know. I'm not sure about her game, but she's in. She's going to be in the final four, so we know that for sure. So okay, so the last thing is I wanted to ask you about that Kevin Martin chat though. So if I'm not mistaken, the last person that got the game chat, they won the season. So that was Paris. I believe her game chat was with John Party. And she ended up going to the end and winning. And she said that it actually really helped her because she was able to kind of configure her speech that she was going to say and focus on different things. And so do you think that Helena is going to be the winner of the season since she's had the game chat with a previous winner?
5 minutes to me isn't like, listen, I go to therapy, and I know how great it is to just have that dedicated time to yourself to kind of talk out loud. And you normally wouldn't, and you're like, but I can just do that in my head, but you actually don't. So having that dedicated set aside time to really discuss your game out loud and with someone else is valuable. I just don't know if I could have um that sort of epiphany or whatever needs to happen in 5 minutes, because it was just 5 minutes, right? It was just more of like show filler to me, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I believe Paris either. So it's like 5 minutes isn't going to do nothing for me.
So yeah, maybe they're just trying to make it seem like, oh my God, it was such a life-changing
Yeah,
prize. All right. Well, we'll see if she wins and if it's going to become like a new superstition. So JC Lynn pitches to Helena to potentially use the veto on her. And I'm like, these are strong. I think that JC Lynn, at least she tries, right? Like, at least
yeah,
she's like, Helena, like, she knows Helena's not going to use it on her, but she's like, hey, like, let's take me down. Let's put out Kevin. We'll both like vote out Josh and we can get to the end and we can win together. We've been working together sort of from the beginning, but like, not so much. Like, let's just continue to work together, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
And
And
that's why I like JC Lynn, because she has that player mentality, even though everyone makes mistakes, but it's like she's always trying to work it, you know?
mm-hmm. So we get to the veto ceremony, and no surprise to anyone, Helena decides not to use the power of veto. So, what do you think about what's going to happen? And do you want me to tell you where it's leaning? They have been waffling back and forth, so nothing has been
Sure.
set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And that's kind of how I felt about it too, because I was thinking about it immediately afterwards. And I'm like, my luck, JC Lynn's going to go. But I'm like, honestly, I know they've talked about it before, like getting rid of Josh. Um, but I think, at the same time, JC Lynn is they realize that how, if she makes it to the end and she's capable of winning, how dangerous that is. So I would think that they could beat Josh and they have a better relationship with Josh like Kevin does. So I still feel like JC Lynn's gonna go. I hope that Josh goes. But I do feel like it's like there's options here, could go either way
Okay,
potentially.
well, I won't fill you in then because they're probably going to show you some of the back and forth and some of the things that have happened, and to where they kind of are right now. So we'll just let you be surprised tomorrow.
Okay.
So
But
that's
there
pretty
is
much
back
it
and
for
forth
the.
though, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Kind of like you're saying, there's pros and cons on both sides, but I can also let you know where they kind of are right now. But we'll let you be surprised tomorrow. So Jelly Donut says, I have some tea on the challenge CBS. Tea, not spoilers, right? I'm assuming that the tea is that production was so bad that there were several players that wanted to quit because the production was so janky and they weren't taking care of the players very well. That's something that I heard recently. Is that it, Jelly Donut, or is it something else?
Ooh.
And anything else about
That
this
like
episode you want to talk about?
about this episode.
Oh, well,
Um
whatever. Anything.
no. No, I was just
No.
wondering about the challenge. I was like, what does bad mean? I'm like, what are they not feeding them or like what's the case?
I'm maybe doing things that are dangerous, maybe keeping them outside wet in cold water for a long period of time. Um, yeah, maybe challenges going into late nights, without food. I don't know. That's my guess is.
Yeah, but this episode, I think we covered everything. It was a quicker one to kind of get through because
Nothing happened.
nothing really. Yeah, I mean, it was like very, like I said, obvious and kind of predictable. And I don't know. I knew it was going to be like JC Lynn or
Like,
Josh weren't going to
wouldn't
win
it be
veto. Like,
interesting if Josh had just tried to save himself?
yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's it. You nailed it. Yes. Also, a contestant allegedly got mega robbed in the final. Oh, wow. Okay. So I wonder if mega robbed is like they production influence, and they took away the win. And CBS picks their favorites, I find, and they kind of push them towards a
Or
win. So,
does someone pull an Ashley and take the money? Who knows?
ooh, fun. That's fun. I'll be into that. Well, this has been great chatting with you. Since you don't have anything else to say about this episode, we'll be back tomorrow. So myself and Jojo, I can't even say his name.
Ciao, ciao.
Jojo will be talking about the eviction episode. Obviously, you can come on and chat with us if you want, Jonathan. You're always welcome to.
I'll be too
Um,
emotional if JC Lynn goes.
ooh. So okay, so if JC Lynn stays, you can come on with us, and if
Oh
she
yeah, I'll join in.
leaves, you
I'll
won't
join in.
come.
Yeah,
Well, you don't have to
exactly.
though. It's
Yeah.
obviously your freedom. You're free to not come and join us. If you're watching though this in the replay, please like this video. It's very helpful for the algorithm here on YouTube. Like the video now. Like if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment at this point with this final 5. Give me your order of who you want to win. So your first place, second place, third place, fourth place, and your fifth place is who you hope out of Josh and JC Lynn to go home. So, I mean, I guess that would make sense with your order. So, let
Yeah.
me hear your order.
Let us know why, and let us know why it's JC Lynn that you want to win.
To go
Why?
or to
No,
stay
to
or
win.
to
To
win.
win. To win. To win. Let us know why.
To win. Okay, bye everybody. Thanks everybody in the chat, mostly Jess and Jelly Donut, and we'll see you guys
Yeah.
tomorrow. Bye.